That's good because it was really wouldn't make any sense.
No, it wasn't working.
But anyway, it's our holiday special, and we are back. Don't call it a podcast. It's the highly uncalled for, immaculate conception of pop culture discussion and cinematic vengeance. The This Week in Charles Bronson Holiday Extravaganza, and I am your host with the most eggnog, so let's have a toast, Eric Todd. With me, as always, is Bradley, the red-nosed badass and number one granddad ass. And behind the boards, taking your calls and spinning all your favorite Chipmunks Christmas classics is Danny Gets a Wonderful Life. Tonight, we discuss our favorite Bronson holiday classic, which is Yes, Virginia, There is a Santa Claus, plus Bronson films that we think should be holiday classics for any particular reason, whether there's snow on the ground or we happen to see a Christmas tree in the background. Um, and um, and holiday classics we wish Charles Bronson would have starred in. So anyway, and then there's like it looks like some of the story that my son wrote, some reason is on here on this page. I hope I didn't ruin his story, Trolls on the Loose. I almost kept reading. If I would have kept reading, it says, so I wrote, the Bronson films we think should have been holiday classics and holiday classics we wish the world's favorite vigilante would have starred in, and then I put him in my bag and walked home. Come on. How long does this walk take? It yelled. This lizard is annoying. There's a lizard in the bag with the troll of this story. I hope to God I didn't ruin my son's troll story on Word. And I also hope that this introduction isn't in the middle of the goddamn book I'm trying to write. But anyway, it's our holiday episode, and it's just me and Bradley Crane. I reached out to a couple people and couldn't get a hold of anybody. But Bradley, how's your holiday season going so far?
Well, I tell you, I'm starting to get into the holiday spirit. I was kind of struggling there. I was trying to watch Christmas movies, and it wasn't really working out that well for me. But the other day during my lunch break at work, it was cold. I went down to our
Hmm.
local mall, walked around, got me a nice caramel macchiato, and bought a
Yeah.
couple of Christmas gifts. And I have to admit, there was some music playing on the overhead speakers there, and it was in a little outdoor mall here in Little Rock. And I have to admit, I kind of got in the holiday spirit after that. It was really nice. So
There's nothing to get you in the holiday spirit like a little capitalism. That or
exactly.
that or jumping off a bridge. I was I actually so I like Halloween too. And Halloween came and went so quick without me even being able to really get into it. So like the second it was November, I was in the Christmas spirit. And I don't know, and I'm not like that every year. But Black Friday, my son wanted to experience Black Friday because people don't go out and they don't really do that anymore, really. Most people do it online. And I thought, you know what, let's do that. We had lunch at the food court, which we love the food at the food court. And rats are running around back there. Um, and then we walked around the mall and we did some Christmas shopping. And it was packed, but it wasn't back in the day Black Friday packed. And it does. It really like it did. It put me in the spirit. It was a lot of fun. But I've
You
been in
didn't
this.
see any women fighting, did you?
No, no. Remember that was when we were children. Remember people were fighting over the Cabbage Patch Kids. You remember that?
That's right. Or maybe a few years ago, before, like you said, everything became online. Back, maybe it was the latest color TV or the latest video game that was so popular. There were some good fights at the WalMarts here in Arkansas back in the day.
Oh yeah, yeah. And you know what the shame is? It's like now there really is like I mean, I don't want people to fight and I don't want some children to get this toy and some children to not. But it really there's really none of that now. You can find anything at your fingertips, but now you have to hope that it gets there in time
Yeah,
because you
that's the
don't even know
stressor.
you don't know where you're ordering from.
That's the stressor, because this afternoon, before you asked me about this, I was really considering going to watch. They've done a release of Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair, where they've basically
Mhm.
taken the two Kill Bill movies, added some additional footage that wasn't used, and they've created basically a 4 hour movie.
Yeah.
So I was actually thinking about going to watch that today, but I was a little nervous because I've got stuff coming that's supposed to be here this afternoon, and I was like, I want to make sure I'm here so that so that when the stuff
Yeah,
gets here, I can hurry up and get it in the house before one of these porch pirates comes along or something. So
yeah. I don't think I'm seeing a 4 hour movie anytime in the future. Like I love talking to you and to our listeners and our friends. And like Max Adams is in town from Australia, and
uh,
I got to see the Vegemite Vigilante, but we didn't, we went and we had a cheesesteak and we had a coffee. And I think I'm going to see him tomorrow before he heads home Tuesday.
good.
But he went out there to St. Louis and he had like a movie marathon with Tom Stockman. And I just felt like less. I was like, how am I a host of a podcast when there's no chance in hell that I'm having a movie marathon with anybody. Like I'm just far too busy. I'm coaching basketball 3 days a week with my son, and he has two other basketballs that he does. There's a goddamn elf. This is elf, two elves actually that show up to my house every night and make a goddamn mess. Did your children have those elves, Brad?
We had them back in the day, and of course we did all the fun times. The elves are very mischievous and stuff. But Eric, one of the reasons I can have a 4 hour movie marathon is I've got a son who's now a 25-year-old accountant like me, and a daughter who's living up life as a junior in college that doesn't want to spend too much time with her dad, it seems these days. So
Yeah.
Stacy, she works every other weekend. So man, I'm living it up with 4 hour movie marathons. I've watched Stone Killer today. I've had a fun morning, and I have done exactly what I wanted to. Someday, Eric, you might be able to live this kind of life as well.
Well, I'm in no hurry. I'm in no hurry for
I
that
know
because
you're not.
I love being a dad and I love being with my kid and I love being with my family. But it is kind of funny that I host a movie podcast. I will tell you before we get into the holiday Charles Bronson spirit here, I will tell you that my son and I were able to catch Troll 2 on Netflix today. Now
Okay,
we loved the first film, Troll. Now I'm not talking about that 80s movie, Troll, like the Halloween
right.
the murderous troll. It's a Norwegian movie, really about it's really about like troll mythology.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it looks like the guy who made it, Roar Uthog, his name is. Looks like he made some really neat movies. Something called Cold Prey. And but anyway, we watched the original Troll. Me and him, he's 10, but we love watching these PG-13 movies together because when you're 10, you want monsters and you want action and things like that. And so we watched this troll one and we thought we were the only people in the world watching it. We thought, wow, we found this movie from Norway nobody knows about. But it turns out, I guess it was a phenomenon or something on Netflix. And so Troll 2 came out this weekend, and we've been waiting for it, and we watched it. And I tell you what, I can't wait to watch it again. I'm not getting paid to say this or anything. But it's just a lot of fun. I recommend it to anybody who just likes fun, magic, and folklore and monsters, there's
Yeah,
giant trolls. It's not little trolls. So like the Norwegian mythology of trolls is that they're part of the mountain and they're huge. And
right.
this is a real mythology, by the way, that I learned about somewhere else. But so it's also there's still people in the Scandinavian countries that believe in these things too. And it was a really cool, it was a cool flick. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. But Brad, have you taken time yet to watch Yes, Virginia? There is a Santa Claus yet this year.
I
The
have
film,
not. I
yeah.
haven't watched it yet because Eric, I don't want to rush it. I'll just go ahead and tell you that uh, yes, Virginia, there's a Santa Claus has a very special place in my Christmas season, and it's almost like I don't want to watch it too soon. It's hard to explain, but it's like if I watch it too soon, it's almost like I'm rushing things. It's almost like I'm holding back on it because
I
I just want to give it the place it deserves as I get closer to Christmas. And so I haven't watched it yet, but I have done some things related to Yes, Virginia, There's a Santa Claus. You can't see it now, but I've actually got it playing in the background here.
oh, okay.
I have listened to the This Week in Charles Bronson episode that focused on, yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. And so I've just been, spending some time, especially after you and I talked about doing a Christmas episode. I just thought, okay, I want to spend a little bit of time thinking about Charles Bronson. I went to work this morning to pick up my laptop and stuff so I could be part of this presentation, and I listened to you on the way there and on the way back, and I believe it was only the second episode that was ever done of This Week in Charles Bronson. So it was kind of interesting listening back to those. It was only 4 years ago in some ways, but in other ways, it feels like it's been a while, since those episodes. But
It
I
was
had a
the
good
second
time
episode,
listening.
yes.
Yeah, I had
Yeah,
a
it
good
was
time
this.
listening.
Well, the first episode was November 3rd. So, of course, when it was time to do a second one, I was like, oh, it's holiday time. Let's do this film. And yeah, a lot of our listeners don't care for our guest on that episode, Chris Dolan, but he's a good friend of mine and a comedian. And he made the point that the movie was kind of depressing. It had a lot of depressing elements to it, like poverty and alcoholism and the death of a wife. My argument with him is that I grew up with a lot of kind of um, those themes in holiday films. I mean, you go back to the oldest, some of the oldest known Christmas songs, when Christmas was a basically a drunken holiday in England. I don't. A lot of people don't know this, but Christmas caroling was invented by, well, it was drunks. It was people with less than other people walking home drunk, knocking on doors and singing and demanding food and drink. That's why
Yeah, I
you hear
didn't
that.
know that.
That's why you hear that. Bring us some figgy pudding. Oh, bring. But it was also. I don't know if it became, or if it just, or they just always did it, but it became a. It became a tradition for the people that had more money or had stuff to, be ready for these carolers and to bring them food and to bring them drink. And you know what I mean? So like poverty and depressing things, you got like this It's a Wonderful Life, or you go even farther back, the original Christmas Carol. I mean, there's a lot of it's a lot of depression in in Christmas movies. So, but there's a hope at the end of this, at the
Mhm.
end of the story. We all know how that story ends if we've ever read it as kids, but I don't know that young people know that story nowadays, if they know that newspaper article that was based on.
Well, I do think that episode, like I said, being the second episode of This Week in Charles Bronson, is a really a good example, Eric, of where you started this whole podcast idea, which was, I'm Eric Todd. I have this history going back to my teenage years with Charles
Mhm.
Bronson, and I really want to bring in people that maybe don't know a lot about Bronson, but let them watch his movies and kind of get their opinion now. And I think that episode is a really good example of that thought process. The show, of course, has evolved somewhat over time, but I mean, at that time, you were, the episode, clearly was people from 2021 looking at a movie that was made in 1991. And the way,
Mhm.
looking at a movie in those, from that time period now, especially kind of an old fashioned movie that emphasizes work ethic, that emphasizes, supporting cops, that emphasizes, just kind of a childlike innocence, free of cynicism, free of, there's great characters in that movie that really do emphasize the hope of neighbors helping neighbors, that family members taking care of each other, community taking care of people. But it's a movie that's done without cynicism. It's not. It's a movie that's old fashioned, and looking at it 30 years after it was made, especially someone that doesn't have a history of Bronson's going to see it differently than you and I are going to. And I think that in order to really appreciate that episode, you have to know that going in. And I know that, and I know where the show started, and I also love where the show is now. I like that over time, things sometimes evolve from one thing that was good into something even better. And that's one of the things that I really appreciate about the This Week in Charles Bronson podcast that you've created and allowed it to evolve into something even better. So
There is a lot of cynicism in everything these days, and especially comedy. Like, I feel like it's kind of expected that your everything is going to be that everything in like comedy should be like cynical, but there's somewhere along the way, like something about Christmas time, something about like, and I watched that show on like a Sunday night, and my mom
mm-hmm.
was still alive, and she probably watched it with me, and there's something about that time of year and that era that it's like it's refreshing to watch something, like that. I mean, especially at holiday time. You like now you might turn on I don't really know many new holiday movies, but they're
Bad
probably like,
Mom's Christmas. Bad
yeah, there's
Mom's
probably like,
Christmas.
yeah, there's probably like dildos in the movie, and
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? I mean, but but that honesty and what's the word I'm looking for? That's like hipster. It's kind of the hipster scene that kind of killed a lot of um like people being like sincere about things. I think like a lot of times when we laugh at someone who is different than us, a lot of times we're laughing at because we're laughing because we can't believe just how sincere they are about
That's
something
right.
that they love. And it's yeah, I agree with you there. I never
Mhm.
actually thought about it that way.
That's
But
right. That's right.
now, what Bronson films outside of Yes, Virginia, There Is a Santa Claus, would you consider Christmas movies for any reason, even if it's a tree in the background, or you received it for Christmas, or
Well, I want to start off. I've done some thinking on that, and when we had our Death Wish 3 episode, we talked about we laughed about Death Wish 3 being a Christmas movie for me because Death Wish 3 was one of the greatest Christmas presents. Possibly, it's the greatest Christmas present I ever received. I
uh,
received I had become a huge Charles Bronson fan in 1985, 86 time frame, and all I wanted for Christmas for in 1986 was Death Wish 3. And
yeah.
you know, I remember like being worried going into Christmas, like, have I made it clear to mom and dad I want Death Wish 3? Will mom and dad get me? Remember, I'm 13. Will mom and
Right.
dad even get me Death Wish 3? Based on
Yeah.
knowing the content of the movie. But I got Death Wish 3. We watched it the night I got it, before we went to midnight mass, and it's literally possibly the greatest Christmas present. It's probably the most memorable Christmas present I've ever received, Eric. And so I laugh about it being a Christmas movie, but it's one of those great family Christmas memories that I have, and that involves Death Wish 3. And I'm not ashamed of that. I don't think my parents are bad parents that they got it for me, because they also watched it with me and were able to make sure, like, Brad, okay, this is not make sure
Right,
you
right.
keep this in the proper perspective. But it was a great Christmas movie for me. And I don't know if you have a Charles Bronson related Christmas memory like that or not. And I thought I'd open that up to you, just because that was so special to me. Do you have a Christmas memory with Bronson that special?
That's a good question. I don't think that I do. I think I probably got a couple of VHSs, but like probably like so we had a store at the mall called Suncoast Video,
Mm-hmm.
and
I remember that.
there was a lot of Charles Bronson and boxes that looked amazing, but the tape weighed nothing. It was almost like it was like made out of like toothpicks and tape and scotch tape. But I remember, I know I've got it. I got a couple of VHSs, probably like, you know, maybe Cold Sweat, or they get, which I love. I love Cold Sweat, by the way. But like, I didn't get like, I think I taped so many off of TV, and I think and then eventually started buying them. But I don't know. I don't have any memories of when I was a child. No, I do remember in the last couple of years, my wife finding me books, getting me both of Paul Talbot's books for my birthday, and I'll get me the Charles Bronson shirts and stuff like that. But no, I don't remember any big one like that. So that
Hmm.
was three, so it came out in 85. And I think I often say that I got into Bronson when I was like 12 or 13. But
Hmm.
I was 13 in 88. So yeah, I probably was 13.
Hmm.
I'm a couple years younger than you. And so I believe the only film to come out besides Messenger of Death after I became a fan was Kinjite, until Indian Runner and Death Wish 5. And the newer movies were still expensive when they first came out. So yeah,
Oh gosh.
I probably got some old ones.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and they probably weren't the best qualities. I mean, there really never was a good quality Cold Sweat, or back then I don't remember ever finding a good quality Cold Sweat or a good quality Violent City, which was
Mm-mm.
called The Family. Um, but I believe I got like a couple of those like cheap versions. And I love them. Don't get me wrong, but
Right.
no, I don't have any no great Charles Bronson memories
Do you have
for
those movies
Christmas.
now, Eric? Do you have you purchased the Kino Lorber releases of like Farewell Friend, Rider on the Rain, those types of movies, Cold Sweat, those types of movies?
I don't have those yet. I want to get Cold Sweat big time. I want to
Okay.
get Rider on a Ring because it's one of my favorites. I have Breakout. I have Death Wish 3, Death Wish 1. I'm probably just going to get the whole box set of the Death Wish that just came out, the Paul Talbot.
Right.
Um,
The reason I ask is because I was listening to actually just I have been going on a deep dive in the last just as I go, I've got about a 35-minute commute to work every day. So I got 35 minutes there, about another 35 minutes home. And I mean, call me weird. I just love listening to This Week in Charles Bronson podcast. And you know what's funny is I spend more time listening to the ones I'm not in than the ones
right.
that I'm in because I really enjoy listening to what the other guests have to say. So I've been listening this week, for example, one of the ones I've listened to. It takes a couple of days for me to get through them because it's an hour and a half episode, and that's
Right.
more than just one day. But like for example, I listened to the wonderful podcast. I want more and more people to listen to it, but it's the wonderful podcast you did with Stephen Peros and Dina Ruggieri
Mhm.
on
Yes.
Run of the Arrow and H.M. Wynant. And
Hmm.
I heard you saying there that one of the things, and Dina kind of was going along the same lines, is how much she enjoys watching the old presentations, the old VHS and stuff. So I was curious if you even wanted the new Kino Lorber releases, because for me, they've almost opened up those movies in a way that I've never even imagined them, how well they're made, how well they're actually filmed and executed, that it had a hard time really respecting that with the old really bad cropped VHS releases and stuff. So I was just kind of
Yeah.
curious if you even wanted those updated releases or not. So
I think the point that I was making, and I think it was more true when I said it, was that it wasn't important to me because I seen these movies in such poor quality. I would tape them off TV. There'd be like that, commercials, and there is some nostalgia to watching them on an old VHS thing. That's more that I don't like. I want to get them all, especially with Paul Talbot's commentary because that's insanely interesting. But I really don't have the time to watch them, so it's kind of being a dad and all that. But I did. after saying that on there, I did come across um a really good copy of Cold Sweat was someone uploaded to YouTube.
Uh-huh.
Um, it might have been a Kino release. I
It
don't
probably
know.
was. It probably
And
was.
it really was it. I was like, oh wow, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong because this is freaking beautiful looking. It was a beautiful looking film, and that was
Yeah.
always a cheap, very cheap. I never had a good copy of that.
Farewell Friend was the one for me. When I got
Mhm.
my Kino Lorber version of Farewell Friend, that was the one for me where it's like, holy hell, I've watched this movie all these years on the absolute worst possible VHS. And I was happy to do it. But it was like it
Yeah,
opened up the quality of a film that I just was like, oh my goodness, this was really a good movie. It wasn't just a Bronson, it wasn't just a good Bronson film that I like because I love Bronson. It was a high quality film. And so,
right. And I feel that um, those particular films really didn't have good releases over here
mhm,
in America, and they were put out by these really cheap videotape companies, and I had really no way of knowing as a kid,
that's right.
and I know now, but I mean, I'm not a cinephile as a lot of the people who listen and I don't want I often wonder sometimes I'm like do I is it disappoint listeners that I'm not like that but I'm not the kind of guy that's going to be like dropping um word like words like 4K this and that but yes I definitely want to get those films. You know what I really want to see a good quality version of, and then we'll get back into some Christmas is oh my God, with Tony Curtis,
Oh,
you
you
can't win
can't
them
win them
all
all. Yeah.
because that's some beautiful locations in there, and um, even the cheaper version, I'm like, this is a beautiful movie. Cabo Blanco is another beautiful movie. I think I
It
did
got a
see it.
nice DVD release, and Paul does the commentary on
Yes,
it. Hmm.
somebody's here. Yes, you can come on in. The camera's not on, but you can come in. Good morning. All right, it's my son. He's doing a character. He's a comedian. I don't have the camera on, so nobody can see your character. So if you want to be funny, you gotta be funny vocally. I don't want to turn it on. We're not doing video shows anymore. It's just radio. We're on the radio. You gotta go to FM and listen to this. Noah, what's your favorite Charles Bronson Christmas movie? SpongeBob? Okay. I don't think he's in that. Okay. All right, can you go? I love you. Can you sing Merry Christmas? Merry Fartmas? That's not funny. Get out of here.
The version of You Can't Win Them All that's on Prime right now is very high quality. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, I watched that recently. Noah, please turn the light on and shut the door. You're ruining podcasting. You're ruining the fake radio.
Hey, one reason I bring that up, Eric, is because if anyone listens to this prior to Christmas, those Blu-rays and DVDs are available, widely now for the Bronson lover in their life for a Christmas present. I couldn't imagine anything much better if
Right.
they don't have
No,
these movies. So,
I can't imagine anything much better either. I need a weekend of just watching Charles Bronson movies. Oh, you know what's funny? I bought my dad's birthdays and my stepmom's birthday are at the beginning of December. And we never know what to get them. And we're there last night, and he's having issues with his Fire Stick and his TV. So we got him a 55-inch TV, smart TV, so he can, you know, get his channel, get his
yeah.
streaming services and all that. And I said, I'm going to come over here and watch Charles Bronson movies. We're going to start doing that. And so I think we're going to start that, me and my dad, because there's this, it's just not happening here. Even the Troll 2, when me and my son watched it earlier, like I have to watch it again because with a 10-year-old, it's hard to pay attention.
Well,
It's
I'm
yeah.
I'm trying to do my part to spread the Bronson this Christmas season. I was talking to a lady yesterday at my brother's store. I went over and visited him, bought my son one of his squatchy T-shirts, and I was telling a
Hmm.
lady there about Mr. Majestic. And
Yeah.
what's funny is the lady had lived in Colorado, and I told her, I said, back in 2022, I did a little trip down to southern Colorado, and I went to Manzanola and La Junta. And she said, what's funny, she'd never seen the movie Mr. Majestic, and this was her comment. She said, well, did you have any of their watermelons there? She goes, in that place, that area of Colorado is known for their watermelons.
Really?
And I said,
Wow.
I said, you've just taught me something, because the entire movie about Mr. Majestic is dealing with a watermelon farmer. And so I didn't know that area of Colorado was known for its great watermelons, which
Wow.
makes it that much more interesting that Mr. Majestic is set there in La Junta and that kind of thing. So,
You see, the Charles Bronson multiverse is constantly unraveling, constantly. So outside of Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. I'm gonna say I'm gonna drop Death Hunt as my Christmas movie, I think,
okay,
because it has to take place at Christmas time because there's a scene that's of New Year's Eve with Lee Marvin and Angie Dickinson, which is about well into the movie. So I, be, I believe that buddy, I'm trying to be talking to fake radio. I believe that um when Charles Bronson rolls into town, it probably is around Christmas time.
right, it would have to be.
Hmm.
I mean, it's
Okay.
winter. They've got lots of snow.
Right. Here, bud.
I
So
don't
yeah.
remember any caroling or any gifts necessarily being exchanged. Maybe some
Well, I
gold
don't
teeth.
it didn't seem like the kind of area for that. You know what I mean? It didn't seem like a lot of people were thinking about that. It also lends to my theory about Bronson's character. I think I mentioned this on our Death on episode that and I don't think you were on that one. Wait, did we do a Death on
Yes,
episode?
we did a little round table on Death Hunt. It's me and you and David, and I think Ryan was supposed to be on there, but he wasn't able to make it. And
Right. And my theory is that Bronson's character of Albert Johnson, I believe he had recently lost a wife. I don't know why. Something about, or he lost something with his family, and I just feel like he went out into the woods to spend Christmas alone. He's
right.
almost like that elf in Rudolph that goes off to the island of misfits
Mm-hmm.
toys.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that's a Christmas movie.
Right. Right. Because Eric, I mean, I try to keep in mind with Christmas and the holiday season that every situation is unique. Uh,
Mhm.
so many things in life. We live in a world, Eric, where people try to put everything in a certain box. If you believe this thing, then that means you also have to believe this thing, or whatever. But in actuality, the truth of the matter is the world is all about unique circumstances and situations. And so,
Right.
just because I believe something in one area doesn't automatically mean I believe something else in another area. It just means that my life experience is what it is. And I try to keep in mind during the holiday season that even though I have my parents still, even though my family seems to be pretty healthy and things are going pretty good in life, there are a lot of people not experiencing that. And
Right. Hmm.
the truth of the matter is there are a lot of people that get to the holidays, and the holidays are all about reminding them of what they don't have anymore. And
Yep.
and you mentioned Albert Johnson, or you mentioned the elf. The truth of the matter is that this is a time of the year when it's okay to be happy and to celebrate what we have. But I think it's also very important to be mindful of, and be empathetic to those that don't have that. Like, in my own life, my wife, who I love dearly, she doesn't have her parents anymore. So
Right.
while I get to celebrate with my mom and dad, she has memories with her mom and dad, but she doesn't get, and so there's a sadness that comes with that.
Mhm.
And then there are people with so much worse going on in their life than even that.
Right.
So I think it's
I mean,
important.
think about the old, the old couple in New York City that have
Mhm.
like and think about that gang that's coming through the window stealing the TV, saying, "We'll
Exactly.
come in here anytime we want." That gang, at Christmas time, they might not have anything, so you let them take the TV. You shoot them a week later.
Now that we're back to Death Wish 3, the Christmas movie.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, yeah.
Now,
I do see what you're saying.
what are some Charles Bronson Christmas movie connections? Now, we all know that Uncle Eddie from the classic National Lampoon Christmas Vacation was in Breakout. But
Hmm.
then there's also another Christmas, somewhat classic, I guess, more of a recent classic, uh, featuring Robert Duvall. I seen that you posted.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Think about this, Eric. So in 1975,
Hmm.
Robert Duvall and Bronson worked together in Breakout. Okay,
Right?
now I'm trying to keep this completely cinematic, and so
Hmm.
if you remember, there was something going on there between Bronson and Jill Ireland, who in the movie her character was like the wife of Robert Duvall.
Correct.
Doesn't it seem odd though that 30 years later we have four Christmases? Robert Duvall, he's got these children who are like run amok with testosterone.
Right, right.
I mean, there's part of me that wonders, okay, did Bronson and Jill have an affair? Those characters have an affair to create these children.
There you go. And the cousin Eddie character in the National Lampoon, wasn't much different than the character that he played in Breakout. He was kind of a kind of a redneck kind of gullible type of guy, don't you think?
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, he had a lot of quality things going for him. He's a very loyal friend and stuff. But don't the only issue I have there is he, he didn't seem quite to be the leech that cousin Eddie was, whenever he came to
Right.
visit the Griswolds.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
One
It's
thing I
great.
wanted to mention, um, as far as Christmas movies, there's Bronson, outside of Yes Virginia, which was the Christmas movie that he did. It's funny now being part of our page how things I noticed that I never noticed before. Like, did you know like in Death Wish 5, one of the more interesting kills in Death Wish 5 is he buys the exploding soccer ball
Right.
as they're setting up that scene and he goes in to buy that. They show like the street out in I guess at Toronto or wherever they actually filmed that scene, and there are Christmas lights everywhere. There's Christmas lights on the pole and everything, and then he goes in and buys the exploding soccer ball. So did you know Death Wish 5 had a Christmas element?
I did remember that there was some kind of Christmas thing going on with in the soccer ball scene.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
it's kind of like he was doing his Christmas shopping.
maybe all of the films took place at Christmas time. What do you think?
Well,
You know what I
10 to
mean?
midnight. 10 to midnight.
Mm-hmm.
There's a scene where Bronson, at the end of 10 to midnight, when Bronson is, you've kind of got the big resolution before Warren Stacy heads to the nurses' dormitory, and basically you have the
Right.
slaughter of the friends and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Very
He
Christmas.
sets Kersey up by going and getting a prostitute. Well, when Bronson is following him, he comes up and there's like a pimp over there, and he wait. There's some other people there, and he waits over. Well, you can see a Santa Claus like in the window there behind the pimp. So it's like
Wow.
there's more Christmas connections, Eric.
That's amazing. It's amazing out there. Now, as far as action films go, do you have a favorite Christmas time action movie? Because I have one that I think is might be a little bit of an underdog. Um, do you have any favorite Christmas
Well,
time action movies?
to me, probably the one that means the most to me. I know you got the Die Hard and the Die Hard 2, but probably the one that means the most to me, Eric, and it's because my mother loved this movie. I remember the first time I watched it, my mom just she's laughing. She had a thing for Mel Gibson, back in the late '80s, and
Yes.
it was Lethal Weapon. That was
Wow.
that was kind of that action Christmas movie that set in had opens with Jingle Bell Rock. I became a big fan of the Christmas tune Jingle Bell Rock based on the movie opening with that. And then,
Yeah.
of course, it ends, there's all kinds of Christmas themes throughout the movie, but that's kind of the one for me, Eric. I'm very curious. What were you leading towards?
Well, if you have not seen it, it's I think an amazing, great action heist slash get to see now I can't think of her name, but I always see her nipples in the movies. It's called Reindeer Games.
Reindeer Games, Ben Affleck movie, and
Yes,
Charlize Theron. Charlize
Charlize
Theron.
Theron's
Yeah,
nipples are in it,
yeah.
and amazing movie. I think underrated. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's popcorn movie. It's cheesy action. It's got a neat story, and it's something about action at Christmas time. I think there's a scene in Invasion. There's a Christmas scene in Invasion USA as
Oh
well.
yeah,
There's
definitely.
something about there's something about the festivities and the family, all those things of Christmas being interrupted by some kind of adversity, whether it be terrorists or, you know, a heist and bad guys and Charlize Theron's nipples. Like
Yeah, I think that's always a nice interruption. And what's funny you mentioned that one is because I've tried unsuccessfully to try to get you more involved in the world of live movie events, whether it be on Twitter, now known as X.
mhm,
They're also done on Mastodon. They're done on Blue Sky, depending on who the host is. But I've only watched Reindeer Games a couple of times in my life,
mhm,
but I'm part of a group called Friday Thriller Club. And that
right.
Friday Thriller Club, this past Friday, so 2 days ago, the movie they showed was Reindeer Games. And so I saw those nipples. I saw that,
So you
you know,
just seen them recently.
yeah, like, I mean, literally like 2 days ago, I was a witness to what you were describing.
Yeah. Well,
So,
they're very that's usually kind of like a slip, like a what you would call lips, and that happens like every 6 or 7 years. There's a movie where Charlize Theron does that, basically just for me. And a lot of people, you want to talk about film theories or conspiracy theories. I mean, that's what I believe is going on, and I'm getting her messages. They're coming across, and I know. I hope she knows that I know, and
Hey, let
mm,
me ask you, let me bring this one up to you just in case you hadn't seen it, but I wanted to bring it up because I do always try to introduce people to. Are you a fan of The Long Kiss Goodnight with Gina Davis and Samuel Jackson?
I have never seen it. I don't think.
Well, it's a Christmas, it's a huge action film. The same guy who wrote Lethal Weapon, Shane Black, wrote
Mm,
The Long Kiss Goodnight. It's a big time action film. I believe at the time he sold the script for $4 million. It was like the biggest sale of a script ever at that time. But he had written Last Boy Scout with Bruce Willis. He had
I
written
love
Lethal
that movie.
Weapon, and
That's
then
another rated movie, I think.
yeah,
Last Boy Scout. I
exactly.
mean,
It's huge. I love that movie, but
yeah,
just that
and
gives
like
you an
it's
idea
not.
of what you're looking. That gives you an idea of the kind of action you'd be getting and the kind of wisecracks and all that kind of thing.
I'm gonna have to check that out. I like the name. It's got kind of a film noir type of
Yeah,
name.
yeah. It's a big time action movie. Gina Davis is what she really plays a good action heroine. So if you
Mhm.
if you enjoy movies every now and that feature like a female star who's very believable in that kind
Yeah.
of, it's got a great
Oh, I
cast of
do.
characters.
I love a good
Yeah,
female-driven action
yeah. So
film.
you would love it. I recommend that. The Long Kiss Goodnight, Eric.
I am going to check that out pronto. Now, Christmas film classics,
Hmm.
or not so classics, but films that are kind of known. Any Christmas stories that you would have liked to seen Charles Bronson play a part in, or just for fun would like to imagine him playing a part in?
Well, I've been doing a little thinking about that, and I've run through the different things. Okay, what if Charles Bronson actually played Santa Claus? What if Charles Bronson actually played in It's a Wonderful Life or whatever. And I haven't been able to really come up with anything. But as I was listening to your episode today on Yes, Virginia, one of the characters in that movie is Ed Asner, you know.
Right.
And Ed Asner played Santa Claus in the
Several
movie.
times, yeah.
Yeah, he played Santa Claus though in a favorite Christmas movie of mine that I watch every year called Elf with Will Ferrell. I don't know if you've seen
Yes.
it before, but
Mm-hmm.
he was Santa Claus in that. But do you remember who the lead actor in that movie was besides Will Ferrell? It's
Oh, his
James
dad, you
Caan.
mean?
It was
James Caan.
James Caan.
Yes.
He played Will Ferrell's dad.
Yep.
And that's the movie I've kind of gone back to. And the reason I've gone back to that is because Charles Bronson was healthy and a very, vibrant actor still, even though he's older. He was
Was he when
still
that was made?
that was made like in, well, hold on a second. Well, hold on. I may have the years wrong. My bad. Let me think. I may have the years wrong. Let me look, Eric. Well, it was 2003, so Bronson died that year. But
He wasn't very
yeah,
healthy that year.
he clearly was not a healthy, vibrant actor. For some reason, I thought that was in the 90s, but you just have to forgive me. It's okay.
That no, I
But
don't.
but it's one of those things that I feel like that would have been an interesting character. The character that James Caan played would have been an interesting character for someone like Bronson.
Yeah.
Say if it had been made in the mid '90s, not the
Yeah.
early 2000s. I just think that would have been the kind of role that Bronson, could have brought a certain world weariness to a certain, because he had Bronson. Bronson had a comedic ability that is undervalued. And I just think
Well,
that he could have been excellent in that kind of role had it been done in the mid '90s.
I think he undervalued his comedic ability to some extent because he turned down the City Slickers role of Curly. And a lot of people don't know this, but he turned down the role of Billy Madison's father,
Right.
which is a similar type of character to James Caan's character in Elf. And maybe it's because me, my son, and my wife went and saw Elf the musical last weekend. But Brad, my pick, the one I was bringing to the table, was the exact same.
Oh, are you
That's
serious?
exactly what I was going to say. How much fun? I didn't think that. I was pretty sure it was made in the early 2000s because I remember seeing it in the theaters. With yeah, that and secondary to that, I'd like to see him play the character of the Scrooge.
Yeah.
I love Christmas Carol. I love every stupid version of it. I really, really love. It's kind of a hobby of mine is to try to find an older one every year. I may have watched the oldest one 2 years ago, though. I watched one. It was so old, the guy was carrying a goose by the neck down the street. Like it was back when people actually ate goose at Christmas.
Right.
But I'm obsessed with seeing as many versions of that, even if it's one of those corny like Hallmark ones called like A Christmas Carol, and it's a girl named Carol and she works at it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, or a
I mean,
Carol. Yeah.
there's part of me that would have enjoyed seeing Bronson play a grumpy Santa Claus or something like that. I don't know if you have seen the Kurt Russell plays Santa Claus in the Christmas Chronicles.
Yeah,
There's been
we
a
love
couple
those.
couple of those, and I love
Mhm.
what Kurt Russell brings to the table. And Bronson would have brought something different. Don't get me wrong, but you know, before the Christmas Chronicles, I don't think I would have ever seen Kurt Russell as a Santa Claus. It's
No, no.
so a lot of people might think, well, it's hard for me to see Charles Bronson as Santa Claus, but I feel like just like Christmas Chronicles was a perfect fusion of a character that fit with Kurt Russell. I believe there's this great unmade Christmas film where Charles Bronson could have been Santa Claus and it could have worked because he has whether people I know Bronson settled into a certain kind of character late in his career, but one of the things I liked about the 90s early TV movies he did being Yes Virginia, The
Mhm.
Seawolf is
Seawolf was
Bronson was a
great.
little bit different. He tried a little bit different and a movie like The Seawolf proves to me personally that if there could have been a version of Santa Claus that Bronson could have killed the role in.
Yeah.
And I
And
just
I like seeing him play his age.
mhm.
It just Indian Runner, Yes Virginia, the Seawolf. Like I feel like it was time for him to play his age, and I kind of, as a fan in retrospect, as an older person, I wouldn't have liked this when I was a kid, but I would have liked to have seen him do more of that throughout the
Mhm.
80s or 90s. But I put two to canon films are great.
Right,
And you know
right.
what I like about this show, Brad? And we're gonna wrap it up pretty soon because I got a house full of people here, but and we're playing Netflix show games. But what I like about this program is neither of us made a joke about him being Santa Claus and pulling the gun out and shooting creeps. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like although I want this show to be fun and entertaining and funny, I feel like there's certain tropes of what people think of Charles Bronson that has become part of that cynicism and part of um, that kind of war against sincerity that is hipster, ironic type humor nowadays. Uh, it was like part of my worry when I first heard of Charles Bronson more than a vigilante the musical. I was my worry that it was, oh, this is a tongue-in-cheek joke about Charles Bronson, and it turned out it wasn't. Um, so it turned out it was very sincere and very serious, but with humor. And
Hmm.
I'm glad neither of us went that way. You know what I mean?
Right.
Although, I mean, he may have been okay as the baby Jesus, but I
Well,
don't know. I
Charles
don't know if that would
Bronson
work.
is Charles Bronson, and I know what you're saying. I've heard you say this before, and I've said I don't want to say the opposite of what you're saying, but Charles Bronson, the career's over with now, so we're left with
Right.
what we've got. And Charles Bronson was a hero, and he was a hero of mine in the '80s when he was starring in those low budget canon action
Oh
films.
yeah.
And just like he was yours, it's only with looking back on it now that we think, could he have done more? Could he have done a different kind of movie that maybe wouldn't have paid as much, but might have been more critically acclaimed and that kind of thing? And
Hmm.
I don't know. If you remember, the '80s was kind of a year of that. It was kind of time of those big budget action movies. And
No, I love those movies.
Mhm.
I think you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. I just glad that like we just didn't go the we didn't go the expected route of saying, "Oh, I would like him to play Santa's elf that blows away creeps or something like that." Freaking love those movies, of course,
Mhm.
but I also think that there's a lot of people that claim to be Bronson fans that only know that stereotype of him,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
but
and that's
whatever.
that's sad, and that I'm glad that we can be part of a program that, one of the reasons we have respectability within community, and we were able to get guests like Lindsay Ireland and Jan Gann Boyd and some of these peoples because I think they appreciate the respect that we show towards Charles Bronson and his true talent and the dignity and everything he has as a man because when these people talk to us, they don't sell us kind of that stereotypical version of Charles Bronson. They tell us about a man who that they really appreciate, that was good to them, that was a nice
Right.
man, not a perfect man, like none of us are. None of us. If you're looking for a perfect man, then you're out of luck. But if you're
Look
looking
no
for
further than me.
that's right. If you're looking for good people that
Look no further if you're looking for a perfect man. I'm right here.
just look for Eric Todd. There's your
Right.
guy. It's not Brad Crane. I'll go ahead and tell you, it's not Brad Crane, but
Mhm.
maybe it is Eric Todd.
It might be. It might be.
but
Yeah.
but I do think that's one of the things that makes our show special. Is it's not just okay, let's make fun of something. It's like let's get to know somebody, and I think that we've done a pretty good job of that here, presenting a man who we're all complex human beings, but we've helped present a man from different angles and from different perspectives. And you know, outside of the work of Paul Talbot, I haven't seen a lot of that out in the world. Is somebody trying to present a more balanced perspective of Bronson? So,
No, I don't think so either. And there's times where I do feel a little guilty because I do know how private some people in his family
mhm.
are, but we do respect that. And if somehow it does get back to those that aren't really into it. Like we do know when to stop digging and when to stop asking and when to stop bothering people. Um, you know what I mean?
Yes,
Um,
definitely.
and also I don't want to know everything. Do you know what I mean? I really don't. I don't need to know everything. I think that's a little
Listen,
insane. But he was
listen.
such a mystery, you know what I mean, that
Yeah.
we want to know something, you
Eric,
know.
in my own life, there are people that I love dearly in my own life. I don't want to know everything about them. Do you? Do you know? Do you want everything?
No.
It's like I don't have to know to love you. I don't have to know everything about you. I just have to know that you care. I have to know that you're trying. I know that you're trying to be better today than you were yesterday. That's good enough for me, and it's good enough for Bronson. So
Now, Danny Getz, are you here or are you still driving in the car? I think Danny Getz is still driving in the car. So I came across a Christmas song yesterday that maybe Danny can slap to the back of this. And Danny, if you can't slap it to the back of this, cut this part out because else this is going to sound really ridiculous. Or no, don't. No, everybody just go to YouTube, right? And look up Charles Bronson Saves Christmas. It's by Hertz McClure. Hertz McClure is one of the very earliest Buczynski boys on our page, one of the first members of our page. He's an artist and a poet. Kind of a little bit of a not your stereotypical what you would think of as stereotypical Charles Bronson fan, but then again, a lot of us aren't. Um, his he goes by the name. His real name is Fritz Shaper. He was one of the first. He used to do this Ghost of Charles Bronson videos. Well, he wrote the lyrics, or he wrote a poem called Charles Bronson Saves Christmas, and he turned it into a song. Oh, I think Danny might be here, or is it Brad? Did you
that
do
was
that?
me. I'm
Oh,
sorry. I
oh,
just looked him up on. I just looked him up on YouTube, and I've got Hertz McClure Generation Christmas on my phone right here. So
yeah, and it's the song was made with AI, which I'm not a fan of. Now he defends it, and he couldn't come on today, so I'm not going to argue that point because I'm going to have him on to have a nice debate with him about the use of that. But I do appreciate that he wrote the lyrics, and the lyrics are his, and the lyrics are funny, and they they bring up every Death Wish film, buying soccer balls and things like that. Um, and it is funny, and it is about Bronson, killing creeps at Christmas, which
do you want me to see if I can
which
play
is
it here?
go ahead and play it, yeah.
Hold on, give me a second. Let me
Mhm.
get it here.
Kind of like it's kind of contradicting what I said earlier, but what I meant was I'm glad that we didn't
The
think,
only one who has himself a list. Charles Bronson has one, two, and all the punks get special gifts. Bronson's holiday magic for the punks. It is no fun because special gifts is what Bronson named all the bullets in his gun. Many years ago, with a city at Christmas filled with snow, some punks figured out a way to stop Santa and his sleigh and steal all the presents that he had for all the kids. They took all the reindeer hostage, threatened to turn them into sausage. They left Santa tied up in an alley, but soon those punks would be sorry, cause Bronson saw everything they did. To save Santa, get the presents back for all the kids before they can fly away. Bronson walked up to the sleigh and asked, "Now what's the problem here?" Before the punks could respond, Bronson pulled out his gun and filled the punks with Christmas cheer. He helped Santa to his feet, and Santa said, "I'm glad I gave you that Smith and Wesson this past year." They both climbed into the sleigh and they flew away to deliver all the presents to all the kids. Charles Bronson saved Christmas again this year by filling all the punks with special Christmas cheer. Bronson's holiday magic for the punks.
maybe I like AI music.
Cause Christmas cheer's what Bronson named all the bullets in his gun. So when Bronson says happy holidays, punk at Christmas, he will send you to
It's like kind of breaking up a little bit there, Brad. But I think people get the point. And ah, but it's actually really good. If I was him, I would have just lied to me and said, "Oh no, it's my band," because I really thought it was like I didn't realize. Um, but like I guess if you're a music, so this is my thing with AI, and I'm not going to go real into it. But if you're like I've shared some of the AI art that people made of me because I'm not an artist who draws or whatever. So I feel like if you're not a musician, but you're a poet like Hertz McClure or a songwriter like Hertz McClure, you're like, I don't mind if AI makes the music. And then if you're a painter, you don't like it when they do when AI makes the art. So I don't know. I have my problems with AI, but I thought that was a catchy tune. I'm going to share it on our Facebook page when this episode goes up, and maybe if Danny hears this, he can. But it played pretty well, Brad. It just started to
Did
break up
it?
there at the end, yeah. But
Okay.
um, but Brad, do you have any more Christmas messages for anybody?
Not really, Eric. I mean, I was sitting here I was just trying to think about, I had mentioned earlier, probably the greatest present I'd ever received for Christmas with Death Wish 3. But, we've got, there's a rumor that we may have Stone Killer coming up pretty soon. And so
Yes, I can't wait.
I've been drinking a nice little beverage during our show that's got my Charles Bronson. It's a picture of Bronson from the Stone Killer on my coffee cup here. And he looks, it's one of the most badass photos of Bronson that exists. He's sitting on set at the Stone Killer, and he looks like a person you would never go up to talk to, and afraid that he might absolutely rip your head off.
Right, right.
You know that picture I'm talking about. And as we talk, behind me, I've got a framed Mr. Majestic poster that Stacy bought me a couple of years ago. That's just, got the prime spot in my movie cave here. And I love Christmas. I love getting Bronson stuff for Christmas. I'm sitting here looking at a framed picture of the People magazine from back in the 70s with Bronson. And some of the very best gifts I've ever gotten were Bronson related, and they're for
Yeah.
Christmas. I've got a
Well,
couple.
I gotta say that John C. I guess it wasn't for Christmas, but he sent me a beautiful telephone poster, and I get a lot of great things from our listeners, and
I know that's an awesome
that
poster. I
yeah,
saw you shared that, and that is a beautiful poster.
and I think Telefon could be a Christmas movie because I like that snake at the end. I feel like the lighting on that snake is very almost like he's slithering around Christmas lights,
Feel like
maybe.
that could be a Christmas composition of some sort.
What about Breakheart Pass? I was thinking of Breakheart Pass because I was setting up. I have a train set that is probably 70 years old. It was my grandfather. My grandfather probably maybe it's not 70 years old, maybe 60, but my grandfather probably put it together when my dad just turned 77. He probably put it together when my dad was 10. So it's about almost 70 years old. And through the last couple of years, I had to put some work into it because it's an old train set. And I got it running like a champ, and I got smoke coming out of there. And we're talking about trains that were made like post World War II, like right around the end of World War II, like late 40s. So um yeah, so trains a big part of Christmas for me. So I wanted
I
to throw
remember
that on
those
there.
mornings making train sets. I remember for
Mhm.
Hank when he was we're talking about a 2-year old. So we're talking about 23 years ago. I remember putting
Mhm.
together a train set for Hank one night for him. So when he woke up the
Yep.
next morning, Santa Claus had brought him his own train set. I do remember that.
It's such a big deal because I had my own when I was a kid, and my pop-up always, this is huge. I'm gonna have to I don't even know if taking pictures and videos will do it justice, but my grandfather had it up on a big, you know, couple of horses, those
Mm-hmm.
wooden horses, and he
Mm-hmm.
would sit there with his little train conductor hat, and there was a little whole town around. And my dad's had it since my grandfather passed, and I just put it up for the first time a couple years ago when Noah was little.
You need to
And
share it.
yeah, we almost didn't put it up this year because it really is a hassle. But I tell you, we got a hobby shop down the street, and thing was hardly running. It was putting. I said, I don't know. Things almost, Christ, it's almost 75 years old, 70, 75 years old. I said, I bought a new uh uh the electric part, God, my God, transformer. I bought and there's people that still make things. Oh, and I had them, they for $100 or something, they did a tune up on it on the actual
Mm-hmm.
engine. Man, I got this thing running like a champ with smoke coming out the top.
Oh, I want to see that. You've got to share that, Eric.
Yep, I'm gonna share that because I think, and I'm gonna like make. I'm gonna put my little. I'm gonna make a. I made a little Lego Charles Bronson, but I'm gonna make a cowboy one that break. Well, not cowboy, but like a Western gentleman breakheart pass type character to put on top of it and
Need
let it
that
go around in
music playing
circles.
behind it when you share it. You need to share
That's
that.
great music. Yeah, that's great music. And there's a film I need to get in 4K. Yeah, definitely.
That's right. That's right. I
But
love
listen, yeah. Well, listen, it was great talking to you, and I'm glad that we're back. I'm sorry to everybody that I stormed away like I did, but I took my meds and now I'm back. And we're gonna be back with Stone Killer before the year's end, with very special guests, Fanachek and Robert Baum. So have a happy holidays, everybody, and thank you for listening to This Week in Charles Bronson.
Merry Christmas, y'all.
All right. All right, Brad. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Talk to you later, buddy.